Today on Pots and Trowels we're going to be harvesting some veg from the garden and sorting out the compost heap, and it's brought to you with the support of Allett and Cobra Garden. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels, especially if it's the first time you've joined us. We're on Facebook and YouTube every week giving you hints and tips from the garden, so please like the page and join us on a weekly basis to see what we're up to. Today we're in the veg garden. I'm going to be doing a little bit of harvesting. I've got my basket here and a list from Jill of things she wants, and then we're going to be doing some work on the compost heap. The first thing Jill wants are some squashes, and the squashes have done really well. We looked at these a few weeks ago. We're in North Yorkshire. They don't always do so well outside, but this year, because we've had a bit more warmth and it's been very dry for us up here, they've grown very well, and we've got quite a few fruits on them. They're not those great big ones that you get in the supermarkets that are grown abroad. These are North Yorkshire grown, but they're going to taste absolutely fantastic, and they are ripening nicely now. And as we can see here, these are a butternut squash. Not big, but the way to test that they're ripe is to just look at the colour of the skin, and it's going that lovely yellow colour. They will ripen a little bit more, but also to give them a tap. And if they sound nice and hollow, a bit like tapping a tabletop, that tells me that they're ripe. And I can't push my thumbnail in there easily, so I'm just going to get my secateurs out. I'm not going to take them all off at this stage. I'm just going to take a couple. I think Jill's probably got a recipe that she wants to do something with, so I'm just going to take a couple, and that will then allow the others to ripen. And there's probably about a dozen altogether on this group of plants here, so we're going to get plenty through. The other thing she wants is a marrow. She's going to make some marrow and ginger jam, which is absolutely delicious. Now, we haven't grown marrows this year, we've just grown courgettes, and we've had so many courgettes, it's unbelievable. I get sick of eating them. But what Jill's done is left the bottom two plants for the last few weeks to mature as marrows, and I can see one in there. Oh, there's another one here just about to attack me, in fact. And this is what happens if you leave a courgette, look at that one, for just a little bit too long. And it's only probably 2 or 3 weeks since we cut courgettes off here, and I'm just going to cut that off there, and there you can see we've got a lovely nice big marrow on there, and that is perfect. So technically it's a courgette, but it's turned into a marrow, and that will very soon be delicious marrow and ginger jam. And the other thing, while I'm in this part of the garden, is the sweet corn. So if we just look at the sweet corn, again done fairly well, considering. Probably not as big as some people get it in the south of England, but we've got plenty of cobs on here. Now, normally the telltale sign that they're ready is when the tassels on the top here go dry like this. But what you can do is you can just carefully open up the sheath, the protective outer sheath, and just have a look in there and just test. Now, they're forming really nicely, but they're not quite ready. And if I just push my thumb in there, they are nice and juicy, but they need to colour up a little bit more. You can see they're more of a creamy colour. These will go a deeper yellow colour. So I'm just going to cover that back up. And they probably need about another week or so, and then they'll be absolutely ready to harvest and we can enjoy them. So I'm going to pop round the back now. I've got some of the ingredients for Jill and do a bit of work on the compost heap. And that reminds me, I need to pick some runner beans as well while they're nice and small. They'll be lovely for tea. Right, I've got a trug here of garden waste that is all suitable for composting. And at this time of the year when we're in the garden, you know, we get grass cuttings. I've got some old lettuce gone to seed here. I've taken some of the excessive growth off the courgettes and off the squashes, and there's going to be loads more coming over the current weeks as we start to clear out the summer crops. Now we can turn all of that into valuable compost that we then add back to our garden to keep the soil in good condition. It really helps to add organic matter to the soil. Now composting is very simple. You don't have to do it on a big scale. You can use one of the green plastic bins that you can often get from the council or buy cheap, look a bit like a Dalek, and then we just fill those with all the waste through the winter. You can go a bit posher if you want. You can have a lovely wooden one that's got, you know, slatted sides on there. Some of them have a lid on them as well, and you can just put your waste in. And if you've got two side by side, you can have one that's being filled and one that's actually ready to use, and then just alternate them. Or you could go, you know, very, very basic and just get some wire mesh, put it in a circle or a square with some stakes knocked into the ground, use that as a compost heap. Or it's ideal, of course, that type of thing if you want to make leaf mold when all the leaves start to fall off. What I've got here is a bit of a homemade compost heap, bit of a prototype. This is a hot compost bin, so it's quite big. It's about a metre square and not quite a metre high, and it's insulated, so it's quite big and chunky. And the ideal is this holds in the heat, because to make garden compost we need to get plenty of warmth in there. It's the warmth that breaks down all this material. So this lifts off like that, and I'm just going to fold it back. And what I've been doing over the season is adding lawn cuttings, all sorts of small hedge clippings, everything out of the garden, you know, dry leaves, and when we're pulling carrots, the old apples. And I've been filling this up through the season. And the good thing about this one is you can take the side off so that you can actually get the compost out when it's finished. Now it isn't all finished yet, but I'm just going to give you a sneaky preview into here. If I just take this nut out and just pull that down, you can see this is where we've started to fill it up, and it's got one or two layers, but it doesn't matter too much. But we've got plenty of worm activity in there, which is always a good sign. We didn't start to put any waste in this until about May of this year, and if I just put my hand in there, we can see that already, look at the worms in there. That is going to be absolutely amazing compost by the time I dig that out in the winter to dig into the garden. So I'm just going to put that back on for now, because we're going to leave it, because I'm going to add a little bit more. Now this bin is almost full, so once I've filled it over the next week or two, I will then leave it to do its job. I'll put that one on in a minute. So what I've got here is some waste, so I'm going to put this in. Now if it's long stems, I just chop them up. It just helps with the breaking down process. They will all rot down, but it's just good to chop them up into smaller pieces so that they mix in nicely together. So this is quite soft material and what we would call wet material. Likewise with these lettuces here, you know, they will just pull apart really easily so that we can then mix them all in. So I'm going to break those up like that. We do put dry ingredients in. The tree opposite has got lots of, it's a lime tree, and it's constantly casting leaves and seed pods, so there's some of those in there as well. And as the leaves start to fall off the trees in the next couple of months, then they will be added to it as a dry ingredient. But you could use shredded cardboard, shredded newspaper if you haven't got access to any dry ingredients. But it is about that balance. And I've also got some grass cuttings here as well that have actually been cut for a day or two, so they're just drying off a little bit. So I'm just going to put some of those in to that. So we've got a nice mixture in there. And then what I like to do is to actually mix it together. We don't want it in too many layers. There's slight layering in there, but that isn't an issue. And I'm just going to mix it in so it mixes it with some that's been in there for a few weeks, that's already started to break down, and that again speeds up the process. We can see there just by going down just a few inches, and that is really, really warm. That is. Grass is great at getting heat into a compost bin, so grass cuttings mixed in with everything else will speed that up. Now if you've only got dry materials, then don't worry. All you need to do is add a bit of moisture to it, and if I'm watering it, I will use just water out of a water butt or a tap, and I will add a little bit of seaweed feed into that as well. So there we go, that's nicely mixed together. And I will get a little bit more in there because it does settle down. You'll be surprised, you can fill a bin up, leave it for a week and it will settle halfway down. Just lightly firm it, not too compacted like that. That's got plenty of moisture in, so no need to give it any water. And then what I'm going to do is just put the top back on, because we need now to trap in the heat and let that warm up and start to decompose. So over the next couple of weeks that will be filled up to the top, and I would expect by sort of November, December, in one of these hot compost bins, that will all be ready to use. And what we'll do then is take the front off, get it out, and we can start spreading it on the beds to add that organic matter. So please, whatever scale you do it on, do some composting in the garden. Don't throw any garden waste away, put it to good use. Well, thank you for watching Pots and Trowels, and please do keep telling all your friends about us. Next week I'm going to be dealing with the herbs in the garden, planting a herb container for winter, so hopefully you'll join us then. Bye.